It feels like a question you'd ask late at night, after a long conversation with friends, or maybe just sitting alone looking up at the sky. Are we living in a simulation? Is any of this real? It sounds like science fiction, and for a long time, that's all it was. It was a premise for movies like The Matrix, a cool idea to play with. But in recent years, it's become something more. Philosophers, physicists, and tech billionaires have started taking it seriously. Not as a proven fact, but as a real possibility. A possibility that is hard to ignore once you understand the argument. The idea isn't new. Ancient philosophers wondered if the world was just a dream or an illusion. Plato had his allegory of the cave, where prisoners mistake shadows on a wall for reality. The core question has always been there: what is real, and how can we be sure? The modern version, the simulation hypothesis, is a bit different. It's more specific. It suggests that our reality, the entire universe, is a computer program, a very advanced one. And we, along with everything we know, are part of that program. Our thoughts, our feelings, our choices, all just lines of code being executed. So let's unpack that. Let's look at the main argument for it, the weird things about our universe that seem to support it, the reasons it might be wrong, and what it would even mean if it were true. The strongest argument comes from a philosopher named Nick Bostrom. He's not saying we are in a simulation. He's saying that one of three things must be true. It's a logical argument called a trilemma. The first possibility is that intelligent civilizations like us almost always go extinct before they become advanced enough to create super powerful computers. We're talking about computers capable of simulating an entire universe with conscious beings inside it. Think about all the things that could wipe us out: nuclear war, climate change, a runaway pandemic, an asteroid, maybe creating a super intelligent AI that turns against us. There are a lot of hurdles. If nearly every civilization in the universe hits one of these hurdles and dies out, then nobody ever gets to the point of making ancestor simulations. So, if this is true, we are not in a simulation. We are probably one of those civilizations heading for a big fall. The second possibility is that advanced civilizations could create these simulations, but they choose not to. Maybe they lose interest. Once you can know everything, maybe the desire to simulate the past fades. Or maybe they develop a universal set of ethics. They might decide that it's morally wrong to create a simulation with conscious beings who can feel pain and suffer. If every advanced civilization comes to this conclusion, then very few, if any, simulations would be created. In this case, we are likely living in the original base reality. The third possibility is what's left. If civilizations don't all go extinct, and if they don't lose interest or develop ethical prohibitions against simulations, then what happens? They will create simulations, lots of them. They might create them for scientific research to study their own history. They might create them for entertainment, like the ultimate video game. Think about the path of our own technology. 60 years ago, we had Pong, 2 rectangles and a dot. Now we have virtual reality games with photorealistic graphics that can fool our senses. We have AI that can create art and hold conversations. What will we have in 100 years? 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. It seems plausible that if we survive and keep progressing, we will eventually be able to create simulations of our own ancestors. Simulations that are indistinguishable from reality for the people inside them. If a civilization can create one such simulation, they can create thousands, millions, billions. The technology would allow for it. So for every one base reality, there could be countless simulated realities. Now comes the simple math. If there are billions of simulated realities and only one base reality, where are you most likely to be? The odds would overwhelmingly suggest you are in one of the simulations. It's a numbers game. You are more likely to be one of the billions of simulated people than one of the few original organic people. That's Bostrom's trilemma. Either we're doomed, we're boring, or we're a simulation. There doesn't seem to be a lot of room for a fourth option. The argument is that the third option is statistically the most likely. This is a logical argument, not physical evidence. But there are some weird things about the universe, things physicists have discovered that make the simulation idea feel a little less crazy. They don't prove anything, but they are strange coincidences. One is the fact that the universe seems to be governed by mathematical laws. Everything from the orbit of a planet to the interaction of tiny particles can be described with equations. It's almost as if the universe is running on a kind of code. If you were going to design a simulated reality, you would build it on a framework of rules. The physics would be the code that dictates how everything works. Then there's the speed of light. Nothing can travel faster. Why is there a universal speed limit? In a computer simulation, this could be the processing speed of the system, the speed at which the computer can update the state of the universe. It's a hard limit, just like the processor speed in your laptop is a hard limit. Things get even stranger when you look at the very small. This is the world of quantum mechanics. At this level, reality gets fuzzy. Particles don't seem to have a definite location or state until you measure them. An electron, for example, exists in a cloud of probabilities, but the moment you observe it, it snaps to a single, definite position. This is weird. It's like the universe doesn't bother to render the details until someone is looking. Think about a video game. The game doesn't render the entire world all at once. That would take too much computing power. It only renders the part of the world that the player is currently looking at. When you turn around, it renders what's behind you. The rest of the world exists as data, but not as a fully rendered image. Quantum mechanics could be a sign of a similar system. In a way for the simulation to save on processing power. Only calculate the state of a particle when it's needed. When a conscious observer or a measuring device interacts with it. Another clue could be the pixelation of reality. Scientists have a concept called the Planck length. It's an incredibly tiny unit of distance. It is thought to be the smallest possible meaningful length, the fundamental unit of the fabric of space-time. You can't get any smaller. This is similar to the pixels on a screen. If you look closely at your phone screen, you can see the individual pixels. So you can't have a detail that is smaller than 1 pixel. The image is quantized or broken up into discrete units. If our universe is a simulation, the Planck length could be the size of the pixel. The base resolution of the simulation. So you have a universe based on math with a processing speed limit that only renders things when they're observed and seems to be made of fundamental pixels. It starts to sound a lot like a computer program. Then there are the more anecdotal things. The glitches in the Matrix. That feeling of déjà vu. The Mandela effect, where large groups of people misremember the same detail from the past. Are these just quirks of human memory? Almost certainly. But in the context of the simulation hypothesis, they become more interesting. Could they be programming bugs? Little errors in the code? Maybe a server reboot that causes a momentary hiccup in our perception of time? This line of thinking doesn't hold up to much scrutiny. Our brains are complex and not always reliable. Memory is fragile, but it's fun to think about. It's the human element of this big abstract idea. Another big cosmic question that fits nicely with the hypothesis is the Fermi paradox. The universe is vast and old. There should be other intelligent life out there, so where is everybody? We've seen no evidence of other civilizations. The stars are silent. Why? If we are in a simulation, there are several easy answers. Maybe the simulation was only created for us. Maybe we are the only conscious beings in the program. The billions of other galaxies are just a backdrop, like the painted mountains in a video game. Or maybe there are other civilizations, but they are in their own separate simulations. Each civilization gets its own private universe to play in. The simulation hypothesis provides a neat, if unsettling, solution to the paradox. Of course, there are powerful arguments against the whole idea. Just because we can't prove it wrong doesn't make it right. The biggest philosophical problem is one of infinite regress. If we are in a simulation, who created our simulators? Right? Let's call them the programmers. Are these programmers living in a base reality? Or are they also in a simulation created by another, even more advanced civilization? And what about them? You can see the problem. It becomes turtles all the way down. The theory doesn't actually explain the ultimate origin of everything, it just pushes the problem up one level. It replaces the question, why is there a universe, with why is there a universe simulating computer? Then there's the sheer computational power required. Think about it. To simulate an entire universe, you would need to track the position and state of every single particle. Every atom and every star, every planet, every living being. You would also have to simulate the consciousness of billions of humans. Each person with their own thoughts, feelings, and memories. The amount of data and processing power needed would be astronomical. It would be far beyond anything we can currently imagine. Proponents of the theory say that an advanced civilization could have technologies we can't even dream of. Maybe they've harnessed the power of entire stars to run their computers. Maybe they use quantum computing on a cosmic scale. Or maybe, as mentioned before, they use shortcuts. They don't simulate every particle all the time. They only render what is being observed. But even with these shortcuts, the scale of the task is hard to comprehend. It might just be impossible no matter how advanced a civilization becomes. Another strong counter-argument comes from a principle called Occam's razor. This is the idea that the simplest explanation is usually the best one. So what is simpler? That there is one universe which is incredibly complex and governed by the laws of physics. Or that there is one universe, which is incredibly complex and governed by the laws of physics, plus another, even more complex universe outside of ours that contains a super advanced civilization that built a super powerful computer to run our universe as a program. The first option, that this is just reality, is a much simpler explanation. It requires fewer assumptions. Perhaps the most important scientific objection is that the hypothesis isn't falsifiable. A good scientific theory must be testable. There has to be some experiment you could run that could prove it wrong. But how could you ever prove we aren't in a simulation? If you found a bug, a glitch in the physics, the programmers could just patch it. If you found a piece of the underlying code, that could just be part of the simulation itself, designed for you to find. If you tried to use up all the processing power by doing something incredibly complex, maybe the simulation would just slow down or crash. How would you know? Any evidence you find against the simulation could itself be simulated. There is no way to step outside the system to check. This makes it more of a philosophical idea than a scientific one. It's an unfalsifiable hypothesis, you can believe it or not, but you can't prove it one way or the other. So, where does that leave us? We have a logical argument that suggests we are likely a simulation. We have some weird features of physics that seem to fit the idea, but we also have strong arguments against it, and no way to ever really know for sure. The final question, and maybe the most important one, is this so what? What if we are living in a simulation? Does it change anything? For some, the idea is terrifying. It means our lives are not real. Our loves, our struggles, our achievements are all just data in a program. It can feel like the ultimate loss of meaning. If nothing is real, then nothing matters. We are just characters in someone else's game. Oh. But you can also look at it another way. Maybe it doesn't make life meaningless at all. Your pain is still real to you, your joy is still real to you, the love you feel for your family is still real to you. The experience of being conscious is the same, regardless of the underlying nature of reality. A simulated person who feels pain is still suffering. Maybe it gives us a new kind of purpose. If we are in a simulation, who created it, and why? If it's a scientific simulation to study the past, then our purpose is to live our lives authentically, to provide good data. If it's an entertainment, then our purpose is to be interesting. The idea also runs parallel to many religious concepts. The creator of the simulation is a kind of god, a creator deity, not necessarily a benevolent or intervening one, but a creator nonetheless. The laws of physics are the divine rules. Maybe there's even an afterlife. Maybe when you die, your data is saved. Or maybe you get rebooted into a new life. The hypothesis is a modern technological way of asking the same old questions about creation, purpose, and what happens after we die. So, how should we live under the shadow of this possibility? The answer is probably that we should live no differently. Since we can't prove it, we should probably act as if this reality is the real one. It's the only one we know. We should still strive to be good people. We should still try to reduce suffering and increase happiness. We should still be curious and explore the world around us. If this is a simulation, then living a full, meaningful life seems like a good way to be a valuable part of the program. And if it's not a simulation, then living a full, meaningful life is still the best thing we can do. The outcome is the same. The best course of action doesn't change. Maybe the real value of the simulation hypothesis isn't in whether it's true or false. Its value is as a thought experiment. It forces us to question our assumptions about reality. It pushes the boundaries of science and philosophy. It makes us look at the world with a sense of wonder and humility. It's a humbling thought that the whole of human history, every war, every piece of art, every discovery, every private moment of love and grief, could be taking place on some cosmic hard drive. But it's also an exciting one. It suggests that reality is far stranger and more complex than we can imagine. In the end, we are left with the uncertainty. We don't know. We probably can't know. We are like characters in a book who can't see the reader. We are stuck inside the system. All we can do is explore the world we have been given. So the next time you look up at the stars, or see something that seems just a little too perfect, or experience a moment of strange coincidence, you can let the question flicker in your mind. Is this real? The answer is it's real for us, and maybe that's the only answer that matters. We are here. We are aware, and we have a life to live, whether it's made of atoms or bits. The experience is what counts.